Hi, my name is Heidi Mancini from the Rise Above Show.
Oh, and I'm Joe Peroni from the Rise Above Show.
Today we have a special guest, Joey Maxwell. He's the owner of Maverick. Everyone loves Maverick, and he showcases his dog on Facebook. His dog is sick, and Joe and I did a phone interview with Joey today regarding Maverick. So before we get into the show, we're going to show you a few videos to introduce you to Maverick before we tell his story. Thank you.
Thank you.
All new at 10 o'clock, a dog's owner fears that his precious pooch is nearing the end, so he sets out to make sure the furry friend enjoys his final days.
But as David Williams shows us, the dog is defying doctors and making lots of new friends.
Good job, buddy.
9-year-old golden retriever Maverick has good days
He's a special dog.
and bad.
Today's a great day.
Maverick is living with a type of cancer called lymphoma. A separate nerve issue took away the use of his hind legs.
Maverick's gone through a whole lot.
Joey and his wife thought his last day on Earth was going to be 2 weeks ago.
We wanted him to come out and have a great time and have one more last big night out.
So they made sure this doggy had his day.
And he got love from so many people that night. It was an amazing experience.
After months of chemo, look into his eyes. Joey says he's showing signs of improvement. His cancer is in remission.
Maverick almost has a smile on his face. The moment you start walking, his whole expression changes. This is his favorite thing to do, walk down the street in his cart.
Even total strangers stop on the street in DeLand to say hi to Maverick. Joey says everybody loves Maverick.
Even my mother-in-law, who hates dogs, loves Maverick.
To know he's doing better is great.
And donations are pouring in to help Maverick.
Like literally just now while we're standing here talking, $300, $500, $400. I don't even know what to say to that.
Truth is, they don't know how much time he has left.
I know he's just a dog, man, but there's really something special about this guy.
As good as he's feeling, we're planning long-term.
Joey just wants his time with Maverick to be memorable and full of love, so one of Joey's best friends can just be happy. In DeLand, David Williams, Fox 35 News.
Oh, Maverick, man, we're all behind you, buddy. If you want to help Maverick in his fight against cancer, we have a link to his family's GoFundMe page, and you can find that link on our website, fox35orlando.com.
You want it? Go get it. Within a block, we won't be needing a wheelchair anymore either. But for now, we're chasing tennis balls. Or barking at them a lot. We do that too.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Rise, get yourselves together. Rise, stand up and live your life. Rise, get yourselves together. Rise, hands up high.
All right, so today we have a very special show. We're going to try out a new thing here because we always have a guest with us, but today our guest is going to be on the phone from Florida, where there's a 3-hour time difference. So last year I've been following this story about this dog named Maverick, and it to me it's just so inspiring. You know how much I love animals, and I love the whole thing about trying to do better, inspiring people, and I know that it has moved a lot of people, and not just me. So it is a real amazing thing that we have Joey Maxwell with us today.
Sure is.
So let's try out our technology. Our special guest today is Joey Maxwell. Are you there?
I am here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. Having a good day so far.
Wow, this is very awesome for us. I'm actually hearing your voice. I've been following this on Facebook for so long. It's almost like, wow, you're a real person.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I know it. I try to stay off of, keep myself off of Maverick's Facebook page as much as I can, and make sure that everything stays focused on Maverick. So it's always fun for me to get to chat with people as myself instead of as Maverick.
Maverick's the star.
He is a
He
star.
really is.
So we do want to talk about you a little bit, if that's okay. Because
Absolutely.
one of the things I was thinking of is you have, and Maverick have so many fans, and they watch every move you do, and we're all hoping for the best for Maverick. And I'm wondering if you feel the pressure, because it's a very personal thing with our family or with our dogs, but with you, there's so many people behind you, almost kind of like, what do you call that? Like quarterbacking you on your every move. So how are you dealing with all that type of pressure?
It's a great question, and it's been interesting from the start. Folks have really taken to loving Maverick as though he were their own. So every day, Allison and I, my wife, get hundreds of messages from all over the world, and quite often it's people who are checking in on Mav, seeing how he's doing, and at times it's folks with their own recommendations for his care and suggestions about things we should try or what we should or should not be doing with him. And your initial reaction to that is, I think, kind of natural to be defensive about what it is that you're doing.
Right.
You want to say, hey, we know what's best, we're here, you're not, that sort of thing. But ultimately, as I really think about it, and as time goes on with this, it's actually a wonderful thing, and I don't get upset about those sorts of things at all, because I know that it just means that those folks love Maverick just as much as we do, and they just want to see him provided with the best care possible the same way that we do. So, you talk about somebody trying to armchair quarterback for us, and yeah, maybe that's a little bit about what it feels like, but ultimately, it's really something kind of magical to see that he's had that kind of an impact. So I don't get upset about it. I don't get frustrated with it. I try to take it all and really look at what folks are sending us and discuss a lot of those things with his vet if they sound viable, and just love the fact that folks love Maverick as much as we do.
Yeah, I figured there would be a lot of pressure on you. But one of the other things I was thinking of is that I think we see the love in the way you handle your Maverick, and I think people see Maverick. They look at themselves. They look at the good things about life. And over the last bunch of years, I've noticed a lot of people just kind of being angry. Whether
Right.
it be political stuff or not. So I was wondering, from your point of view, what have you learned about people and how they're reacting to you and Maverick?
Ultimately, it's really been kind of a wonderful experience for all of us. Allison and I talk about this quite a bit, but we see, for example, prior to the election, of course, in our small town, you walk down the street any given day of the week prior to the election, there were supporters from each camp set up on one of the big intersections in our small town with their signs, and everybody, encouraging their side and trying to get people to honk the horn and get a reaction out of folks as they drive by, which, great, that's what you feel like doing, go for it. As we walked by with Maverick in his wagon, what I found was that no matter which side of the street we were on, each of those groups would set down their signs, stop what they were doing, and turn and focus their attention on Maverick, and just come over and love on him. And it happened on each side of the street, not one in particular. And for me, that was a really profound moment, because all of a sudden, all of the politics of the day, all of the different opinions went away. And for Allison and I, we didn't care at that moment who these folks were supporting in the election or what they believed or what they were fighting for. All that mattered was the love that we all shared for Maverick right then. And that was really something kind of incredible. And that's what we see every day on his Facebook page and through our interactions online as well.
Yes, I think that's one of the things that we've noticed, is that there's just such a common connection of love that I think you have transcended that with this. And I think that's one of the things, and I think you found out, like you were saying, that I think people might be a lot closer and we have a lot more in common than we don't. And I think you're proving that with Maverick every single day.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's been the most wonderful thing in the world for us. Alice and I are both very busy people. We both, of course, work for a living. We're heavily involved in theater and the arts and dance and all these things we do outside. We stay very, very busy. This adventure with Maverick has really forced us, in a great way, to slow down and to cherish every moment that we have, not just with Maverick, but with ourselves and with our friends and family, and really enjoy all the little things in life that we may not have noticed before. Because when you're faced with something like this, it really forces you to stop and recognize that every one of those moments counts. And for Maverick, every little thing we can do throughout the day to give him wonderful memories and a wonderful life is something special. Every time I get to rub him behind the ear or give him a little treat or toss a tennis ball his way, that's a great moment for him, and it's a great moment for us. And before all of this, we forgot about some of that. We would casually toss a tennis ball his way and go out and, do our 2 or 3 daily walks with him and that sort of thing. But we weren't nearly as present as we are now. And now we try to be as present as we can with Maverick and in everything that we do. It's really changed us on a very basic level.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because that's kind of some of the stuff that I was thinking about of why I'm so attached to this story. And I think you're hitting upon that. And if we can be just totally honest for a second, as living beings, whether we're human or animal, our time is short. And as we get to this point where things become, let's say, more compromised, we do tend to look at the beauty of life too, and that's the other side. So I guess my question for you would be is, in your own relationships, how do you think it's improved? Like, do you still like in your regular relationships, are you like looking at every moment now as being special?
Yes. Honestly, I am. Because, as you grow older, of course, we all become aware of our own mortality and the mortality of those around us. We all see our friends growing old and getting sick and things like that. But when it's something this close, when it's, your dog that you look at and take care of every day, and it looks to you to provide everything, it really does force you to stop and reflect on what's really important in life. And what we've noticed is that Allison and I have been a little nicer to each other. Not that we weren't before, but we're a little more tolerant of all those little things that pop up in married life, you know? And we see that with our own interactions with other people, be it at the counter at a restaurant or walking down the street, whatever it might be. We smile at people a little more, and we try to be a little more empathetic towards folks, because you never know, one, what they're going through, and two, when you're ever going to have a chance to have those kinds of interactions and make that kind of an impact again.
One of the things that's affected Heidi and I, if you can believe this, just within the last week, we have somebody that is, I don't want to say friends because we didn't hang out, but it was definitely an acquaintance of ours over the last, say, 25 years or so. And he unfortunately committed suicide. And,
oh, no, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And one of the things I was thinking of, because you, your family, and Maverick have been trying so hard to squeeze out every incredible moment that there might be left, and you show so much strength. And even when I watch Maverick, I just love that sometimes when he can't even get up, he still enjoys you being around. He enjoys his food. He wags his tail. And I'm wondering how many people have contacted you to say that they have developed strength in their own life, and maybe they wanted to commit suicide, but they decided to stay around longer because of the strength that you and your family exude.
You know, it's a great question.
Thank you.
We get messages every day, literally every day, from people who say that they're finding strength through Maverick, that watching him get up and do exactly what you said, enjoy every little moment in life, no matter how bad things are, it gives them strength. Specifically, though, a couple of months ago, and it's not something Alice and I have talked about a whole lot. I did mention it on his Facebook page this weekend because the timing felt appropriate. But a couple of months ago, I got a Facebook message early one morning from a young lady who explained that she was going through a very difficult time in her life. She didn't go into any detail, but said she was having a difficult time, and she got up that day with the intention of ending her life. That was what she was going to do that day. And before she could do that, she discovered Maverick's story, and she started reading through his posts and watching his videos. And as she did, she came to realize that if Maverick could get up and keep going and enjoy life every day through everything that he was going through, that she could too. And she decided not to end her life that day, and to try to get up and have a little bit more strength each day. And that's exactly what she did. And we've actually stayed in contact since then. And that's exactly what she's doing. And that, to me, is just amazing. And if that's the only life that Maverick touches in his journey here with us, then he has fulfilled his purpose. But I know that that's not the only life he's touching out there, and that is just something amazing to me.
Yeah, that is amazing. Thanks for telling us that. You know, as a marriage and family therapist, I see a lot of therapists, and, you know, obviously we're in the helping profession. But I got to be honest, I think people like you and, you know, dogs in general in this story, I think you do more to heal more hearts than probably, and this, my therapist friends are going to hate me for saying this, but I think you do better work and have done more for more people in the last year than probably any of the therapists put together I know of.
Well, thank you. It's certainly nothing we do consciously necessarily. I appreciate that, but it gives us great solace in knowing that all these folks that are following Maverick and liking his page and commenting on his pictures and videos and stories, I would like to think that those folks who are actively engaged with Maverick go home every day and spend a little more time with their dogs or their cats or whatever pet they might have, or maybe they're a little nicer and a little more appreciative of their own families and their own time together. and maybe they're a little nicer to the people around them because they have this connection with Maverick, and they see just how precious life is and life can be. And so I'd like to think that, Maverick's got almost 13,000 friends online right now. I would like to think there are at least 13,000 pets out there or family members out there that folks are being a little nicer to because of Maverick.
Just for fun, I probably have about 200 friends on Facebook, and that's with having a TV show and a marriage and family business and the personal training business, and I only have 200. Maverick is whooping me in that department.
He's a popular dog. We call him our celebra puppy.
He's your celebra puppy.
Yeah, this whole thing is so amazing to me. The other question I had is, it's I love this whole story and I'm in on it 100%. But have you given any thought to why it seems to be that some people, we can rally around dogs or pets. Sometimes when it deals with people, we tend to say, just get over your problem. Or, we tend to be dismissive of human beings. But when it comes to dogs, at least in my experience, it's like that we can all agree on, is that dogs are amazing. Have you thought anything about that?
Yeah, I have, actually, because it's interesting for me, because you see all these stories on Facebook of adults who are going through much, much worse than Maverick is, who don't get the same kind of love and support. But you see this kind of love and support with dogs, with cats, to some extent, and with children, I've noticed, is where it tends to lean.
Right.
And I believe it's because there is an innocence and a purity in dogs. Because if you look at Maverick, there's only really two things he wants in this world. One is treats.
Treats. Yeah. Don't we know about that in our house?
Our dogs love treats.
That's exactly right. And the other thing is just love, and that's it. It is the most pure, selfless form of love, I think, that exists in the world. And you see that in dogs and children. There's no ego, there's no attitude, there are no preconceived notions, no ulterior motives.
True.
It's just love in its purest form. And I think that people really connect with that. But I think where people miss the boat on this
right.
is that people ultimately have that same level of pure love and innocence inside of them. But it's clouded by our own lens, our own filters that we put against them every day based on their social status or their look or their beliefs or whatever it might be. We cloud our judgment on those people. But if we could, and it's something Alice and I try very hard to do, if we could look at people the same way Maverick looks at people every day,
right.
with just that pure love, that pure innocence, or the same way that people look at Maverick, if we could look at each other that way, I think that the world would be 1,000 times better.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. It's definitely, I think we look at dogs especially as this beacon of unconditional love. It's like we all want that, and we all want to be that for somebody. But have you ever seen it, or do you think it's possible that human beings can give unconditional love?
I think that we can. Oh, excuse me.
It's
Choke
okay.
on my coffee. I do think it's possible. Goodness.
You okay?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm good. Got choked up on my coffee. I do think it's possible. I think that it takes a real conscious effort. And I would like to think that Maverick and his story could inspire people to maybe look at and think about other people in their lives the same way they do Maverick. Because when you strip everything else away, all of those preconceived notions and emotions and judgments that we have towards other people, if you strip all of that away and just look at the heart of it, we are all, be it Maverick or myself or you, we are all living beings who ultimately want the same things out of life. We want health and happiness for our friends and family and for ourselves. And we don't want other people and other beings to suffer. And I think that's generally universal. I think that goes across most religions and belief systems. I think that's what people really want. But we can forget about that very easily when we start interjecting our own judgments and beliefs onto other people. So if we can remove all of that and look at folks the same way that we look at a dog with that same level of innocence, I think that we could get there. But it really takes a lot of work and a conscious effort to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Have you been doing the work yourself? You sound like someone who's very introspective, who does a lot of reading, has a lot of just a lot of faith. Is that true?
You know what? I do a lot of reading. I am not religious, I wouldn't say at all.
Okay.
I'm very much more introspective. I do a lot of meditating and spend a lot of time just trying to put positive energy and a lot of good out into the world, and trying to live a little bit more like Maverick every day. For me, it's not necessarily religious based. I know for a lot of people it is, and that's wonderful. Whatever you can do to draw upon that energy and then to give that back out into the world, I think is a beautiful thing.
I love that you're saying all this. Do you mind if we go back to the beginning? In other words,
no, absolutely.
Do you remember the day that you brought Maverick into your family?
I do very
Of course
clearly,
you do.
Actually, of course I do. Absolutely. How could you not? I do. Allison and I at the time were living in Asheville, North Carolina, up in the mountains, where we're both from. And we'd been talking for months. We decided we wanted specifically a red-headed golden retriever. We prefer a younger dog, so we'd have more time with him, but that's what we wanted. So we looked and looked. Golden retrievers are very hard to come by in shelters and rescues because they're not dogs that people give up because they're just amazing.
That's true. They're very personal.
Oh, yeah. Very few people abandon these dogs. It happens, but it's rare. But we knew that we didn't want to buy one from a breeder. If we could rescue one, that's what we wanted to do. And so we were patient and just kind of took our time looking around, hoping to find one. And one day, Allison stumbled upon a red-headed golden retriever at a rescue deep in the mountains of North Carolina. It was about an hour and a half drive away. I found it online, and the shelter had named the dog Maverick, which was rather appropriate and kind of striking for both of us because he was a red-headed golden retriever. I'm a pilot, so Maverick has some significance to me because of Top Gun. So that was a bit serendipitous. So Allison called the shelter immediately and paid Maverick's adoption fee over the phone before we ever met him.
Wow.
And we got in the car. It was July 5th, day after the 4th of July, and we drove the hour and a half up into the mountains to this shelter, and we went and met Maverick for the first time. He was about a year old, and he was absolute just skin and bones. Apparently, his previous family, he'd already been microchipped, his previous family had abandoned him up on the Blue Ridge Parkway. And they estimated that he spent about 3 months by himself out wandering the woods on the parkway, based on his constitution at the time. There was just nothing left of him. And so the shelters contacted his family. They said, no, we don't want him. And so they put him up for adoption, and we found him that day. And I'll never forget, we sat down outside of the shelter, and they brought Maverick out to us. And he walked up to Allison, who was sitting there in a rocking chair on the front porch of the shelter. He walked up to her and lowered his head and just stood there. And we knew immediately this was our dog. So we got in the car and drove home with Maverick. And on the way, we stopped to use the restroom. Allison stayed with Mav in a parking lot across the street. I got out of the car and walked across the street to hit the restroom. And as I walked away, Maverick started barking at me as I walked away. And at that moment, Alice and I kind of looked at each other from across the street, and we just knew we'd done the right thing. This was our dog and was supposed to be with us.
It's still emotional for you, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. I'll never forget seeing him barking at me from across the street. I was his dad within 5 minutes, and that was amazing to me.
So what has he added to your family?
Everything. Maverick has kept Allison and I both in check in our own relationship. Like any married couple, of course, we have our moments where we have disagreements and we can get loud and argue and all that like anybody else.
So I'm going to say, I'm going to say that Maverick.
He's the referee.
when you argue, and listen, we all do, so I'm not like outing you here. I think we all can admit to this. I'm going to say Maverick would actually walk in between you and then make you understand or be mindful of the situation right at that moment.
Actually, no.
No? He doesn't do that?
He doesn't have to.
No.
Wow, I was wrong. Okay.
It's the craziest thing. Maverick would try to run away. He would go to the door and bark.
Oh.
And try to. I don't know if he was trying to get our attention to get us to stop arguing, or if he simply wanted to get away from it. But in that moment, seeing the emotional impact that what we were doing was having on Maverick, we knew the emotional impact it was having on each of us as well. And it was, anytime that happened, it was a real moment of reflection for both of us where we would both stop and say, okay, if it's having this effect on the dog, imagine what it's doing to us. Let's find another way to go about this.
So he did his job.
He absolutely did his job in a way that none of us would have expected. Now, Maverick does come and get in between us anytime. If we want to stop in the kitchen and give each other a hug, Maverick tries to weasel his way in between us to join a hug.
Yep, that happens every day to us, too.
We have a rescue dog we rescued a few years ago, 2 years ago. We rescued our dog Nelson, and he's the same way. Every time Joe and I try to hug or kiss or something, he's got to weasel his way. Even in the bed, it doesn't matter where we are. He's got to be right in there.
Oh, that's right. Got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a hug to be had, he's in.
That's so funny. I love it.
So do you have kids?
No, we don't. It's just Allison and I, Maverick, and the 3 cats now.
Oh, all right.
And how many cats? 3 cats?
3 now. Now that we rescued Monster a couple of years ago. So we've got a house full.
Yeah, so we don't have any kids living with us either, so it definitely is that your pets are your kids for sure. At least we feel.
Well, we have the two. We have the Chow, the Pit, and the Pug. So we have a diverse breed of dogs. And they're our babies. They are our babies.
Oh, absolutely they are. Absolutely. And that's the way we've always felt about Maverick. He's our kid.
So tell us about, if you can, if it doesn't hurt you too much, about when Maverick first kind of got sick.
Yeah, that was about a year and a half ago. And it came up almost overnight. We noticed one day Mav was a little lethargic, didn't seem to be feeling great in the morning. And as I was petting him, I noticed that his lymph nodes under his jaw were very swollen. I mean, the size of like kiwi fruit, just overnight. So I immediately ran to the vet. We put him in the car, went to the vet right away. They did some tests, and that was on a Monday. Wednesday, we got the test results back, discovered it was lymphoma, and Friday, we were at the oncologist beginning chemo. I mean, it was absolutely immediate. But we started the treatment right away, and Maverick, within a week, was in remission from his lymphoma. It didn't take any time at all. He responded very, very well. So we continued the 6-month chemo protocol, and Maverick did great through the whole thing. The amazing thing about chemo in dogs is that, in general, it doesn't have the same side effects as it does on humans. So Maverick never vomited, never had an upset stomach, never lost his hair, nothing like that. As a matter of fact, when he would go have chemo, he would honestly feel better after the chemo than he did before.
Wow. Huh, I never knew that.
Dogs is not as scary as it is in people.
Wow, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
it was great, actually, because we were worried about that.
And so how did it go from there? He was in remission.
He was in remission. We actually had about 6 months free and clear. Of course, Allison and I were incredibly paranoid, and every morning would get up like clockwork, and the first thing we did was go love on Maverick and check his lymph nodes without fail every day. And one day, actually it was 6 months ago almost, we got up and inevitably we found that his lymph nodes had swollen again. This time they weren't quite as big, which was a good sign, but we again immediately rushed him to the vet. This was a new vet we went to this time because we'd moved, and went to the new vet. They diagnosed him on the spot based on his history and how he presented, and we started chemo that day, our second round of chemo that day. And so that was back this summer, and he's been going through the chemo ever since. This time was a little tougher. The chemo didn't really make him sick. It did wipe him out a little bit more. He was a little more lethargic the day after his chemo this time around. And also, you know, with his age and with his illnesses, it also made him a little more susceptible to infection. And so when this whole thing started that everyone kind of knows about, when Maverick started getting famous, was about 3 months ago when Maverick had a health crisis. We got up one morning and things have been going well with chemo, everything was going great, and out of the blue, Maverick woke up and was so exhausted he couldn't even lift his head up. So he certainly couldn't walk outside to use the restroom, couldn't eat, drink, just nothing. So we ran him to the bed again. He ended up spending 3 days and 2 nights in the ICU, and when we brought him home on a Tuesday, it looked like we were bringing him home for home hospice care. And that was October 9th when they told us that we might just have a few days left with him. And it was that day when we brought him home that we decided that if this was it, if Mav just had a couple of days left, they were going to be the best couple of days ever. And we wanted to get him out and let him enjoy some of the things he'd always enjoyed, walking downtown and having a couple of treats and visiting people, because that's where he really draws his strength from, is the love of others. So we knew we needed to do something to get him out and about, and I had the idea to go to Lowe's and pick up a garden wagon that would be big enough to roll him around on. And that's exactly what I did, and thanks to the kindness of the manager at our local Lowe's, we were able to get a garden wagon in spite of the fact that they were completely sold out because of the hurricane.
Wow.
And we loaded Mav up and went downtown and had a huge night out. Mav had hamburgers and ice cream and treats and got all kinds of love from people. And it really drew a lot of attention. People were really attracted to the giant golden retriever riding around on a wagon downtown. And that was kind of the night that everything started. We got up the next day and Mav seemed to feel a little bit better. And that was 3 months ago.
And so he started getting better just from having people pay attention to him.
Yeah, I really think that had we gone home that night and simply accepted Maverick's fate and sat around being depressed and waiting on the inevitable, I think we would have lost Maverick that week. I firmly believe that. But I think instead, by focusing on the positive and giving him the opportunity to go out and be a dog, just be happy and enjoy some things in life. I think by doing that and him getting all this love from folks and seeing us being positive instead of down and negative and focusing on all that, I think he felt that energy, and I think that it gave him a will to continue fighting and to get up each day and to feel good and try to enjoy his life. And that has bought us so far 3 months of extra time with Maverick, and it's amazing.
So I know this is a tough question, but all in all, what do you think has helped Maverick more? Is it the love of your family, his caregivers that are helping him now, all the supporters, or the actual medical stuff, or the chemo? And I guess the real question is, what wins out, the medicine or love? What do you think does?
No, it's love every time.
Love wins.
Every time. I think that absolutely love wins. I think without the love and support and positive feelings and positive energy coming in from all over the world, plus what he's getting in person every time we take him out or just being at the house with us, I think without all of that, the medical treatment would have only done so much. You can treat the body all day,
right,
But if you're not treating the mind and the spirit and keeping someone positive and optimistic, then it doesn't matter how good the medicine is. That if the will isn't there, the best medicine in the world is not going to do anything.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, of course, and your story just is it's a great example of that. So I think that's another reason why I'm so attached to you and Maverick's story.
I think a lot of people feel that. I would like to think. I would hope that's the takeaway for folks is none of us are going to live forever. Our pets aren't going to live forever. We're not going to live forever. There's never enough time. Alice and I just had this conversation the other day. If Maverick lived another 60 years and passed away the day before we did, it would not have been enough time. There just never will be. So, knowing that, you absolutely have to make the most of every minute that you've got, because the time will never be enough.
Right.
So you've got to pack everything you can into it, and pack as much love and life into what you have. And none of us know how long it's going to be. We expected 2 days with Maverick, and we tried to make those the best 2 days possible. And instead, we've gotten at least 3 months, and we've tried to make each of those 90-plus days the best days possible. And that's wonderful.
That's a great way to live for all of us. So
I agree, and that's our takeaway from this. That's how we're going to continue to live our lives. We know inevitably that Maverick's time is going to come to an end. It will for all of us. But we don't dwell on it. And, of course we think about it, but we don't talk about it in front of him. But we get up every day and tell him and each other how much we love him, how much we love each other. And every time we leave the house, we make sure that he knows that we love him and that everything's okay. And we do the same for each other as well, because you never know when that's the last time you're going to have that conversation. So I think it's important to always leave things on a high note, because you just don't know.
Right. So tell us about Maverick's team, so to speak, because I know that there's a lot of people trying to help him. I mean, you're looking at I believe acupuncture. You have a chiropractor, I believe. You do hydrotherapy, and I love that you're doing that. And I watch the videos, but I also love what I'd like to do today is hopefully you can maybe bring out some light for other people about what might be available to their pets.
Yeah, and we've been amazed. We had no idea that many of these treatments even existed for dogs, because it wasn't anything that we'd really we believed had a need for prior to this. Of course, everything began medically, and Dr. Deb Ulbrich at the Land Animal Hospital is Maverick's primary caregiver, primary veterinarian. She handles all of his medical care, and her family have grown to love Maverick just as much as we do, and they really treat him like he was their own dog. Dr. Deb's 10-year-old daughter, every time Maverick comes into the hospital for treatment or for a stay, comes to visit him and lays down in the kennel with him and loves on him. And that's just amazing that her whole family has become Maverick's family now. But we were also very fortunate, right after Mav's story started going viral, to be contacted by Florida Wild Veterinary here in DeLand as well. And they handle all of Maverick's rehabilitation care. And so they're the ones where we discovered acupuncture for pets and chiropractic care and the rehabilitation care, the hydrotherapy, all of the things that we're doing to try to keep him healthy on the rehab side as well. And it's been wonderful. I was familiar with acupuncture before we started this whole journey. Had never actually tried it myself, although I'm going to very soon. Alice and I have decided one of the things we need to do is take better care of ourselves, and one of the things we'd like to do is acupuncture there as well. Because watching his response to the acupuncture has been incredible. Maverick draws incredible energy from his acupuncture sessions, and when it's over, there is a noticeable, marked difference in Maverick because of the acupuncture, and that's amazing. He feels great. He's energized. He's hungry. He really wants to get up and go after his acupuncture sessions, and it's made a big difference for him.
Wow.
The hydrotherapy as well, doing the underwater treadmill, which we've had to put a pause on as Mav's had some health issues as of late. But that was making a big difference in Maverick's upper body strength and his back alignment, and being able to get out in his wheelchair for longer and longer periods because of the work that they were doing in the underwater treadmill. And the chiropractic adjustment as well. Maverick, as a golden retriever and a lot of large dogs, has back issues. And the chiropractic adjustments from Dr. John Humbert there at Florida Wild have really made a big difference in how he feels all over. And we've actually started seeing improved mobility in his lower legs, in his tail, bladder and bowel control, all of those things as a combination of the treatments from Dr. Mason and Dr. John.
Wow. So tell us a little bit more about the hydrotherapy and the wheelchair part for our listeners. I mean, one of the things that does come up is I'm trying to figure out what people might be thinking right now. And one of the things is like because we've had dogs. I don't know of any place, even in Las Vegas, that does hydrotherapy for dogs. Is this like a new type of thing?
As far as I know, it's reasonably new, but there's probably one very close by that you just don't even know about.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a fascinating treatment. Essentially, it's a treadmill with a big plexiglass box built around it, and a large pool pump and jets, and they put the dog inside the big plexiglass box on the treadmill, and then fill the tank with water. They can vary the level in the water to either add resistance to help build strength as the dog walks, or they can raise the water level up to add buoyancy to reduce the weight that the dog is carrying on his legs in the treadmill. And in doing so, one, they can build strength, but two, with a dog like Maverick with nerve damage in his lower back, they can work on patterned walking. So the vet will actually sit behind Maverick and move his back legs in time with his front to try to rebuild the muscle memory and the nerve pathways to get him walking again as he should be. And for older dogs or injured dogs, it is an amazing treatment. And they've seen at Florida Wild dogs who came in that could not walk when they came in the door within a matter of weeks of undergoing this combination of therapies, out running and chasing tennis balls again, and that's fantastic. Now for Maverick, his spine is a little worse, so we did not see those kinds of results. But what we did see was, because Maverick can't use his back legs, we were able to acquire a wheelchair for him that supports his back legs. And in doing this combination of therapies, Maverick was able to really build his upper body strength so he could get out and run in his wheelchair with his back legs supported off the ground, as though he was out on his back legs. He didn't know any better. He was just out chasing tennis balls.
Wow. So some of these procedures, I would imagine they become pretty costly. So is there any way that we can help you with the cost of this? Do you want to?
Yeah,
is there
absolutely.
some type of GoFundMe that you can announce for us?
There is, and we appreciate you asking. This stuff is definitely not cheap. Maverick's last hospitalization was just over $2,000. So these things don't come cheap, but of course, he's worth every penny. So we do everything that we can. Without the help and support of so many people from around the world, we would not be able to give him the high level of care that we have. So we did set up a GoFundMe, and that's GoFundMe.com/EverybodyLovesMav, M-A-V. And there folks can donate, leave messages, and communicate with us through his GoFundMe page and help support not only your short-term needs, but his long-term as well, because we still look long-term with Maverick. You don't know how much time we've got, but in our minds, we're looking long-term. And there are definitely a lot of costs that add up, not just the vet bills, but God, my pee-pad bill is incredible.
The pee-pad.
Yeah, that's a reality too.
Yeah.
True. Is there any merchandise? Like, I would proudly wear a Maverick shirt if you would have one that I can purchase.
You know what we do? As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to restart that campaign, hopefully today.
Well, it started right now when I said it.
Yeah. we'll get it going for you today. On his Facebook page, we've done in the past and had great success with a series of Maverick gear, T-shirts and sweatshirts and yoga shirts, stickers and coffee mugs and all kinds of stuff that you can buy with an art print that I created of Maverick's face with a heart shape around his face. And the heart is actually made out of the words "Maverick loves you" in about 30 different languages.
Wow.
Because through Maverick's Facebook page, we get messages from all over the world, and I make it a point to use technology, Google Translate, to translate that message, "Maverick loves you," and anything else I can translate, to everyone who messages us in their native language and send it back to them, which is wonderful to be able to do, and it touches people in a special way to hear that in their own native language. So I decided to make that phrase in about 30 languages into the heart around Maverick's face on the T-shirt design.
Awesome. So when you're ready to sell the shirts, I'm in on that. We're in on that. Also, Heidi and I do drink coffee, so we'll be in on the coffee cups
mugs.
too. And
Yeah, I've got a
obviously,
couple at the house. They're fantastic.
and obviously, we're recording this, so hopefully, you can help us too by sharing it as much as you can and putting it on your site to kind of get it out there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, we will. Anything we can do to spread Maverick's story, we're always happy to do it. It's funny, people ask if I've put out press releases or advertised Maverick in any way, and I don't. I never have gone out seeking any kind of press attention for Maverick. I of course, have a Facebook page for him. But everyone that's found us, every interview I've done, every news story I've done, every video that's gone viral, has all happened organically, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's great. You don't really have to advertise. I think just hearing it a little bit is enough, and people like Heidi and I will just jump right on that.
Yeah, I agree, and it's, I don't know, I think it's an incredible thing to see how people respond. And it really does a lot of good for Maverick. Believe it or not, Allison and I take the time every day to read as many of the messages as we get online to Maverick, so that he hears all those words of encouragement and love coming from around the world.
Now, if Heidi and I were to send you some treats from Las Vegas for Maverick, would he get them?
Oh, absolutely he would. Believe it or not, 2 weeks after this whole thing started, people started asking to send us things. And we would love that. We didn't, of course, want to give out our home address on the internet.
Right.
So we went out and I bought a P.O. box, especially for Maverick, so that folks could send him treats and toys. And you wouldn't believe the things that we've received. Christmas time, we got all kinds of cards and gifts, and it's been wonderful. And every time we get something like that, we take pictures with Maverick and his new stuff and put it up on his Facebook page so everyone can see the generosity of all these people around the world. So if someone did want to mail something to Maverick, his mailing address is Everybody Loves Maverick, P.O. Box 3242, DeLand, Florida 32721.
I was trying to write that down. Can you go over a little bit slower on that for me?
Yep, absolutely. Everybody Loves Maverick, P.O. Box 3242, DeLand, Florida 32721.
32721. All right. Nice and slow for me, nice and slow for everybody else who's probably saying, come on, you need to speed up. So it's what, almost 1 o'clock in Florida right now?
It is. Yep, we're pushing 1 o'clock here.
All right. And I kind of forgot the date. What is it, January 7th?
7th.
7th?
January 7th. 9th.
All right. 9th?
It's the 9th. Yeah.
Wow,
Oh
I'm
my
falling
God.
behind. Okay, so it's January 9th at almost 1 o'clock in Florida. Can we have an update on how Maverick is doing today?
Yeah, actually. Maverick woke up this morning with a great appetite, which was fantastic because the past couple of days, Mav had a bit of a health crisis and his appetite had been down. So he got up this morning. First thing he wanted to do was have breakfast, which was wonderful. He's holding his head up and smiling, playing with toys. and really has been having a wonderful day so far. And that's spectacular to see him up being playful and engaged with toys and engaged with food has been great. He's actually been barking at me a little bit today, which he doesn't do when he's not feeling well. So he's been barking at me quite a bit. And I think it's because he wants treats because
well, of course.
He's like, I'm hungry now. Give me some of those treats.
Oh, yeah. He's got me trained. So I've been giving him a lot of treats, and he's really seems to be feeling pretty good today, and that makes us very happy. We're always glad to see it.
All right. So what's on his schedule today? Acupuncture, a little yoga, massage. I know he goes to yoga class, too. I think I forgot to mention that.
He does go to yoga class.
I should. I don't
Sarah
even.
Humbert is his guru, and it's beautiful. It's always the neatest thing, seeing the yogis interact with Maverick and sending all their great energy his way. And he enjoys just being around people, so it's a lot of fun. Today is a nice, easy day for Maverick. We've got the day off.
Oh, good.
Tomorrow we're going back to his primary care vet, and we're going to have a checkup tomorrow, including x-rays and blood work, and see how things are going. And he'll probably end up with an acupuncture session tomorrow afternoon once we're done at his primary care vet. And then it's just on through the rest of the week. He goes to physical therapy and acupuncture 3 times a week now, and we're doing weekly checkups with his primary care vet. So 4 times a week, Maverick's out and about at the vet. So he keeps a pretty busy social life.
Busier than mine.
Yeah, mine too.
So we only have about 2 minutes to go. One of the things I wanted to mention is that I know that there's a lot of stress on you and your family. So I thought maybe we could end with that. Are you doing anything specifically for your self-care so you can get through this? And, you know, I know it's a difficult time.
Right. Honestly, no. And that's something that Alice and I have talked about quite a bit lately. We've got to find a way to do that, and we haven't been. To be honest, there's very little time to even cook a meal for ourselves and sit down and eat it. So, no, we have not been. And we hope to be able to do more of that soon. With Maverick, every day is busy. Every day is a unique challenge, and that's where all of our energy and focus goes right now. But we're going to have to find a way to start doing that and carving out some time to take care of ourselves a little better as well. Because if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't take care of Maverick. So
that's
right
what
now,
I'm getting at.
No, and that's a shame. But we've got to find a way to do it. But until we can come up with a way to add more hours into the day, it's not happening.
All right. So I know you're really busy, so we only have a minute to go. We have to leave. But I really want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today and doing this phone interview. It's a really awesome thing for you to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, well, thank you guys so much just for helping share Maverick's story. It's a unique one, and you know he's a special dog, and we love for people to hear about him and the effect he's having on people all over the world.
Well, thank you, and
Thank
we'll
you.
do our part. We'll try to spread the word. We have the show recorded, and it's not going anywhere other than to all over the world as we'd like it to be, and hopefully you could help us with that. And yes,
Absolutely.
thank you. Thanks for being on the Rise Above show. I'm Joe Peroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini. Thank
and
you.
our very special guest, Joey can you do one thing for us, please, before you go?
Absolutely.
I know you do voiceovers, don't you?
I do, professionally, yeah.
Just for fun, can you say, I had fun on the Rise Above show? I want to hear that voice.
Absolutely. I had fun on the Rise... Wait, say the name of the show again? I'm so sorry.
Rise Above.
Rise Above? I do this with a script most of the time.
Okay, so here's the
On the Rise
script.
Above show.
The Rise Above.
Rise Above, there we go. I had a wonderful time on the Rise Above show today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Take care now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.